within a different subject, you'll be getting these lessons and they'll be progressing your language skills in all areas. Okay, so we're thinking verbal, we're thinking reading, and we're thinking writing. All of these skills are transferable to every single class that you have. So we're starting with the basics, and we're going to be watching a video. The video that I tried. When you're watching the video, you're going to be taking some notes. So this is starter. This is first thing in terms of your lessons. How do you take notes? Okay, so you're going to need a piece of paper for a start, aren't you? You're going to need a pen, you're going to need a piece of paper, you're going to need something in front of you. Note taking. Do you know how to take notes? Have you ever actually thought about what you're doing when you are taking notes? Note taking. How do you take notes? What are the principles? How do you approach this task? We're going to watch a video. I say take notes. What do?
You write the most important things. Like, you don't have to write everything, and you write like little, like phrases.
Okay, so we need to be selective in terms of what we're writing. It's the key principles. We need to be selective. What else?
No, you'll understand it after. Like after you look at your notes, you'll be like, oh, that's a video was about this, this, and that.
Good, okay. So when I was going to ask you later because I wasn't sure anybody was going to come up with that one. But who are these notes for? You're going to say they're for me. But they're not. They're for the future you. They're for the you in 6 months, in a year. You need to make sure that that future you understands what's going on. Okay? So they need to be clear and they need to be rereadable in 6 months' time, basically. So it's for the future you. Okay.
And they could also maybe be organized or have like a visual aspect.
Okay, what do you mean by a visual aspect?
Like some people do drawings or arrows and diagrams and stuff, depends how you are.
Yeah, no, exactly. They need to be subtitled, they need to have some sense of flow to them. Okay, whenever somebody asks you to take notes, there's going to be a structure. Okay, so you need to work out what the structure is going to be. You can work it out, you can ask. The structure of this video is little subheadings. So for each section of the video, you put a subtitle. Okay, so you have the subheadings that you have. Are you going to write down everything? There is text on the video. Are you going to write down everything?
No.
Why not?
You don't have the time.
You don't get the time. But what happens when you're writing something that's on the screen in front of you?
You don't need everything.
You don't need everything, absolutely. And what do you do when you're writing?
You listen, you just answer your writing.
Okay.
You want to be able to go back and say, I remember that specific note and that. Not like have a whole text that you have to read in.
Exactly, and you probably is incomplete as well, isn't it? Because you didn't get time to actually finish it. So you shut your ears when you're writing everything down, and really what you need to focus on is not being a sponge, being an active listener. Okay, you are not sponges, we are not imparting this knowledge onto you and you soak it up. You are active in your learning, you are active listeners. What do you need to take down from this video? What is going to help you in 6 months' time when you look back at these notes? Okay, so they need to be personal as well. So the future you need to have personalised notes. Okay. Everybody think they're okay with note taking now? You're going to give it a go. You're going to practice, you're going to get better. This is the whole process. So you start, you think about the skill, and then you evolve and learn and progress. Okay? Video time.
Super. Okay, this video was designed as part of a course. So basically what we're... Okay. Basically, this is the opener. So it's going to give you an overall sense of where we're going with the work that we're going to be doing together. Okay? So there's a couple of references in the video to this course. That's what it's referring to. Okay? As we go through the video, I'm going to stop it, and you're going to do a couple of tasks speaking to each other as well. Don't be shocked or alarmed when I ask you to turn and talk to your partner. Okay? Is everybody ready? Okay, cool. Okay. write down 3 things that make a really good piece of writing. So just turn to your partner and see if you've got the same ideas. Literally just 1 minute, share your ideas.
I could stretch language and
Great. Some really, really good ideas. What I'm hoping is to extend some of those ideas. So when we're thinking about language, what are we talking about when we say good use of language? So we're going to continue with the video and see a slightly different framework for analysing a piece of writing that will extend what you've already written down. Okay? So we're going back to making notes. What I'm hoping is that you wrote down a couple of the same things that are on my list of the things that I look for in terms of language and organisation when I'm marking a piece of writing, whatever the subject is. All of these things are important for a biology report, a physics or a maths investigation, or for an English or history essay. The questions are the same about the way that the language is used across all of your subjects. So, some of the words might be a little unfamiliar, so I want to start by asking some questions to make the concepts clear. Let's move first of all to coherence, which is a really important part of communicating with a reader. Anytime that you're writing, you have to remember that writing isn't just about putting your ideas on a piece of paper. It is a communication, an active communication with another person. What makes it tricky is that that person can't respond to you or tell you that he doesn't understand, which makes it so different to speaking to someone. Okay, moving on from coherence to range. Writing is an amazing opportunity to show the reader what you know in terms of language and how you can apply your language to the task. However, again, so many students don't...
Okay, I'm just going to pause you there and just refer back to the note-taking, okay? How do we feel about taking the notes on coherence? Look at what you've written. Do you feel like you've explained what coherence is? And do you feel like you've explained why it's important? Okay, think about that while we're having a look at range. How did you organise your notes? I can see bullet points, I can see subheadings, I can see sentences. Was that effective? Do you feel like you were able to listen, be an active listener, and take the notes? If not, change the way you did it a little bit. Ready to move on?
Show what they know. They have an advanced level of language, but they play it safe when they write. In this next area, we're really thinking about how focused you are in your writing. Okay. I'll just give you a minute or two to catch up on that. If you want to work with the person next to you and just fill in any gaps that you might have for what we've done already, I'll give you a couple of minutes for fill in any gaps of understanding or questions that you got from myself or from Ms. Pridgeon, and then we'll move on.
Answer the question.
Yeah, pero que.
Answer the question.
Conventions.
Amen to that.
It's actually really important if you do your lab reports. I don't know, have you done any yet?
Answer the question.
Lab reports.
Important
Wow, this year.
It's just marks that you can use the correct format. I mean, literally get marks to lay out exactly. You know, quite lots of subjects. So, well, you don't have to do it.
Thomas Lynn that I didn't go to class because she
Era cuando vive, era algo cuando vive. Impact.
Okay, right. I did want to just clarify one of the things, which was collocation, because that's going to be a new word for a lot of people. If I tell you the sentence, I had a really long night last night, I made my homework for 3 hours. What's wrong with that sentence? I made my homework for 3 hours.
You didn't make
Yeah, you don't make your homework, do you? What do you do? Okay, so correct sentence would be, I spent 3 hours doing my homework, or I did my homework for 3 hours. Why do I say do your homework, not make your homework?
Because you are given.
you're not making it. It just sounds better.
Okay, but do I make a cake or do I do a cake?
It just sounds better. That's it.
Sounds better, it just sounds better. Sometimes that is actually just the answer. It's a collocation. Collocations are words that go together, and there are some really specific academic collocations that you will be expected to use in your academic writing in all of the subjects. So I think this idea of collocation is going to be really, really important. And there's no reason for it, it's just the way the language is. Okay, so we have to be happy with that ambiguity. Okay, now if I direct your attention to the piece of writing on the board, this is an authentic piece of writing. I did not invent this. Just spend a minute and read through it. Okay, it's authentic apart from the Einstein bit, I added that. Okay, now what we need you to do is to look at that piece of writing and consider it from the perspective of coherence, range, accuracy, cohesion, and decide what the problem is from each of those aspects. That's our new framework for looking at language. Okay, so you can do this with the person sitting next to you. You can spend kind of 5 minutes on this, and then we'll do some feedback together afterwards.
But the range is too like they always
Something that Noel asked me. Can you ask me again in a big voice so everyone can hear?
Okay, just asked whether the person that wrote this always writes like this, or if it was just an exception.
You know, and I think this is something that's really, really important, because if this is your only interaction with this person, what's your impression of this person? Ignorant. Do you get the impression that this person has a level of English that's really high?
No. Lack of creativity.
Lack of creativity. This person could actually be a very, very intelligent, very analytical person with a great level of language. But if they make choices that don't demonstrate that in their writing, the reader just is left with this particular impression. And that's not the impression that anybody wants to give, is it? So I think one of the things I want to come out of today is this idea of conscious writing, and conscious writing meaning thinking about all of these areas. Okay? So, should we start with coherence? Does anyone want to make a comment on coherence?
Yeah, we Jacob, coherence.
I take care of my turn, my turn.
I hate
Do you think it is coherent?
No.
No. So we need to think about why it's not coherent. So I think we can all immediately say that.
You're presenting yourself with the question, but just going around the question, maybe it's not presenting like a logical explanation, like why school is like what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any more comments?
And there's one piece of information in there that's totally, wildly not appropriate. Which is it?
Einstein.
Einstein, yeah, exactly. Okay, so Einstein. So it's not coherent because he's linking.
Yeah.
Why? Wow. Looking from this
It's
table.
there. It's
So
random.
what do I answer? Range?
So
Looking at range.
range.
Well, you can see that he's always like repeating the
Guys?
same thing.
Oh, are we? We're looking at range? Are you successful? Okay, yeah, we're looking at range. Okay.
So in text, you can see that the writer is always repeating like the same thing about if school does kill creativity or not, but he uses it in different ways. So he's actually, just repeating it all over again. And, yeah.
So repetition of vocabulary, repetition of phrasing, or let's try and couch it in the right kind of language.
I think that in both ways,
Yeah.
because I don't know.
Give examples. It's always helpful to kind of like draw on the examples from the text. So repetition of vocabulary because
School. Yeah, I don't know if school do kill creativity, and then he once again says maybe nobody knows and it's difficult to answer. So he uses a lot the word knows, I guess, and I don't know again, and right there in the second line, there he uses repetition of words.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. And I mean, the names of the verb tenses don't really matter that much, but I am going to start using them with you so that we can start talking about language with the language of language. This text is written entirely in the present simple. We have about 15 different verb tenses and aspects, and if you want to show that you are a sophisticated academic writer, you have to use the entire range of grammatical structure. You also have to use the entire range of your vocabulary. So again, not just lifting things from the title question. Yes, Jacob?
The task at hand to limit your grammatical structure.
Absolutely, and that's absolutely true. I mean, if you are writing a dialogue, for example, and people are speaking in the present, that's fine, as long as it's a conscious choice and not just because it's your safest option. But even inside that, there are ways of showing that you can control the language, and that's really a trick, and that's something that we're going to look at. But thank you for that point. That's really, really true. Okay, all right.
third, Jose Miguel.
Cheers. Okay, so the accurate writing is not, well, it is kind of accurate because it has like good spelling, but it has like slips, I think,
Okay.
because maybe he knows where it's wrong. I'm just making assumptions, I don't know. Like he doesn't answer the question, that person, because you don't know if it's a he, doesn't answer the question, and it keeps saying, I don't know, and you cannot tell someone you don't know if you're writing out something. So that's like weird. And the accuracy is not accurate because you're not answering the question. So you have to answer the question because you have to be task achievement.
Okay, so the task achievement accuracy. Let's think about kind of breaking that down as well. The task achievement accuracy, no. Okay, thinking about the kind of accuracy within it. You are right that there is a level of accuracy there. But how do we kind of say that? Yes, there isn't any actually spelling mistakes. But is that okay? Does that make this an accurate piece of writing in terms of vocabulary and spelling?
well, in vocabulary and spelling it would be, but in answering a question is not accurate.
I think, sorry, I think what I'm trying to get at is, in terms of kind of like a judgment of what you're writing, if you stick to simple words that you know how to spell, is that actually a good thing?
No.
Would your writing be hurt by making one mistake on a highly sophisticated piece, a highly sophisticated word?
No.
Not really.
It'd be better, like you were trying to impress someone instead of just saying it the simplest way you could have.
And I think that's where, you know, a lot of us actually kind of like, I mean, I do it as well. I'll, you know, be sending a message to somebody and I'll go back and rewrite my sentence because I've forgotten how to spell something. Whereas actually the mistake is probably a demonstration more of my understanding and intelligence than an accurate, simpler sentence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see if we can get done.
Cohesion. Who's going to
No.
do it?
Valentina.
Yay!
So cohesion is like you want to like link things together, but here it's not working because like you're trying to link like a question and link the answer to it, and he never does it. And I don't know if he like links Einstein to like the into the paragraph, so you're like kind of like very confused. So it doesn't make Einstein. You know?
There's only one way. If we think about grammatical cohesion, you're absolutely right about the ideas. How does he link the grammar together? He's got one tool. He's got only one tool. Yeah, Camilla again. Commas. That's his only cohesive device. That's it. Nothing else. And again, that's very repetitive and very boring and actually very, very confusing. So this person hasn't actually thought of a strategy to actually link, not the ideas exactly, because that's coherence, but the grammar of it together. And that's something that's a really, really important technique to do. Okay. Collocation.
Constanza.
Woo! I've never heard that before. Collocation.
Woo! I like that. We should do that every time. Yes.
So sentences are not written clearly. Maybe like when it says, because it is really complicated and schools maybe do kill creativity and maybe don't. It's not written clearly. It doesn't separate both the ideas. You need to write, schools maybe do kill creativity, or maybe they don't. You don't write it all together, so it doesn't make sense.
It was a hard one, this
Yeah,
one,
this is a
because it
hard
was
one.
new.
Yeah. The one that jumps at me is a long question. That for me, I read it and kind of go, it's a long question. Really long question? There's a better word for that. Not long question, but
Complex.
complex.
Complex
Yeah.
sentences.
Complex, even big. Long question doesn't really fit. It feels inauthentic. So that was the example that I picked up on. So that didn't go together. That was a hard one. All right, next one. We're on register.
Manuela.
Oi.
Hooray!
I don't think there's really a tone in the whole text. Like, because if they stuck to one perspective, like they do kill creativity and they don't, you wouldn't like understand what they're trying to say. But they're saying both ideas, so you don't really know what they're trying to convey to the reader.
What tone would you expect? If you were going to write this, if I gave this to you, what tone would you want to create and how would you create it?
We want people to like know what you stand for and like, know that you really mean it.
So clarity of
Yeah.
opinion. What did you say, Mike? What did you say?
Oh, I was just saying like more formal, maybe, because he really says I don't know a lot, and it's,
What is it about that makes it informal?
Use of language.
So the use of a contraction can be seen as a slightly less formal. Remember we talked about that, didn't we? When we take two words and we squish them together, they contract with the apostrophe, the contracted apostrophe. What else about that three words?
First person.
First person, you said first person.
It sounds kind of insecure.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, you don't have a kind of a definite perspective, which gives it a sense of informality as well.
Great, yeah, fantastic. Okay, task achievements.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. There's no task achievement whatsoever. Kind of, the person, the writer, kind of just stays away from the question and basically makes no attempt at answering it. And the last part is that I want to talk about if schools kill creativity, or if they don't, because it's a very important question that I want to answer. Basically, just says that he can't answer it.
Yeah, and also like the fact that he says it's really complicated and it's really difficult to answer. He's not trying to answer this because that's hard.
Just seems very lazy, like he doesn't want to take the time to answer it. Like, maybe it doesn't know at all.
Yeah.
He's not engaging, is he?
No.
It's kind of, he's talking about some opinions about the question, but there's no argument of any kind or evidence of any kind or any substance of any kind. It's just opinion, I don't know. So there's no evidence that he's actually really engaged, which is frustrating for the reader as well. Okay, impact on the reader.
Gabriel.
So the impact on the reader, well, they're not really interested in the text, as it's like really boring, and they don't have any expression on tone.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah, it's the primary thing you want, isn't it?
Yeah.
If somebody starts reading your writing, they want to continue reading it. You don't want them to want to put it away. Okay, layout and organisation.
Victoria.
You can clearly see that it's not organized. He didn't think about it before writing it, because it's just like one complex sentences, and it's just one paragraph.
Yeah, no, yeah, pretty much everything.
Punctuation.
Mia.
The winning table for Pridgeon.
Well, first of all, the person only uses commas. They don't use any periods and semicolons, and it's probably the punctuation error because it's basically a big run-on sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. And the reason we get so upset about run-on sentences is because it creates a strain. It's confusing for the person who's reading it. I'm going to show you. Well done. I think you guys did a really, really good job on that. Seriously. So this is a more academic framework for analysing language and writing. I'm going to show you now a different paragraph that hopefully does contain all of these things. So you can just compare them.
Do we keep taking notes?
No, that's fine.
How different they are. Especially the one I love, it's like a light show.
Oh, they're writing something.
Bueno, yo
No, yeah, so
I guess that's the that part of
I don't
Okay. Would anyone like to comment on a difference between this one and the other one?
This one is smarter.
Okay. You know what, it sounds funny, but actually that's the impression that you have, and that's the impression that we want to give. We want to give the impression that we are in control of our writing, in control of our ideas, and in control of our language. That's the impression that we want to give. Everybody can write like this, or everybody can write like the first sample. It's a choice. Okay? And that's something that I want to come out of today's session, is the idea that you can choose to do these things. But it's a conscious decision. You may feel as we go through this, you know what, ooh, I don't really know what collocation is. What are you going to do about that? If you don't really know it, so then?
Look it up.
Oh, I thought we were.
Look it up.
Yeah, look it up. Be proactive about it. Because I can't teach you guys these things. I can't teach every single person the collocations that they need. But if you know that this is a weakness or something that you want to improve, you can go and find out. You can come and see me in my office, you can ask me Pridgeon. If you think cohesion is something that you're not that sure about, if your grammatical cohesion isn't that strong, it's something that can be fixed. And that's something that's really, really nice about breaking down language in this way, the language of writing, because it means that nobody is fantastic at writing or terrible at writing. You may be brilliant with accuracy, cohesion, collocations, and register, but you may have a weakness in coherence. You may have fantastic coherence, range, and accuracy, but one little thing about your cohesion isn't working, and that's really easy to fix. But the idea is to be aware of what you're good at, and the only way of doing that is to be really objective about your own writing. Yeah?
No, I have to say as well how lovely it was sat there. This was put up watching you engage with the writing and have conversations and learning the meta language of doing it. Yes, sat there going, oh, feeling very proud of you all.
Yeah.
But this is true. This is true of everybody's writing. The reason that we write well is because we are very aware of our failings. I am very, very aware of my common spelling mistakes, so I know to pause and check them. I am very aware that I tend to overextend my paragraphs, and so I need to just kind of keep that in my mind. So this is what it's about, it's awareness of what you need within your writing to make it better, and to make these conscious choices. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. It's been a lovely lecture. Yeah.